KNSI. Again, start your home search at VoigtJohnson.com. Brandon back in studio with us, and I think we're going to talk about something today that is pretty darn important.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on creating a winning offer in today's market if you're involved in multiple offers.
Okay, now multiple offers, are they still happening as often as they were when rates were, half of what they are now?
They are, and in fact, last week I was involved with a buyer. We wrote on a property that had 15 total offers. So
15?
It's all about supply and demand, and the supply of homes is still low, and especially in that entry-level price point, which I would consider under $300,000 in central Minnesota, the demand is exceedingly strong.
Okay, so you just said entry level. Is that first-time home buyers?
It can be. A lot of times it is. Okay. I would define entry level as more of a price point,
gotcha.
Under $300,000, but
right.
The vast majority of the time it is first-time home buyers.
Well, and the reason I had to ask you that is, my gosh, a $300,000 price tag for me today still, and I'm not a first-time home buyer, still makes me take a breath before I say yes.
It does, but like everything, and we've talked about comparing to rents.
Yeah.
The prices are dramatically different than when you and I first bought our first home.
Yeah, and really, that's really what it boils down to, right? Expenses every month.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
Well, what do we need to know if we are getting or need to be prepared to give multiple offers?
Basically, when we're working with a buyer, we're treating every individual instance as its own case study.
Okay.
So first off, I want to reach out to the listing agent and know, are there any special circumstances the seller's looking for? Are they looking for a rent back? What sort of timing? Any little thing. When there's 4, 5, 6, 7 offers or more, right. A lot of times the way the seller is determining which offer to select is just the slightest of details. So any information the listing agent can share about how we can accommodate that seller on timing, on anything like that is important to know.
All right, now in the old days, and I'm just going to go back to the old days being a year ago, right? People would get multiple offers and there would be contingencies like, no, I don't need to do an inspection. If you want to buy my house, no inspection. If you want to buy my house, no this, no that. Has that changed at all?
We're getting back to that. I would say if a seller has a lot of options, the ideal offer for a seller is a above list price cash offer with no contingencies at all, including inspections, okay. Right? Now, are they always going to get that even in multiple offers? Maybe not. But what we do is we sit down with the buyers and look at their situation, mm-hmm. their comfort level, mm-hmm. and say, how do we create as close to the ideal offer? Now, you can't be a cash offer, okay. Are you 20% down? What sort of financing are you? Right. If you're a minimal down buyer, that's fine, but now we've got to overcompensate on some of the other issues to give the seller peace of mind, right? Yeah. So you brought up inspection. Some buyers, and rightfully so, do not feel comfortable waiving that home inspection. And that's important, and there's a lot of factors, the age of the house, right. A lot of stuff with that. But what I can suggest to them is, typically you have a 7 or 10 day inspection period. What I did here just recently is I will kind of pre-schedule that. I'll call an inspector and say, how soon can you get in there? Right. I'll have it scheduled. I'll tell the listing agent, you're reviewing offers Sunday night. I have a tentative hold on an inspector Monday morning. We will have this knocked out by Monday afternoon. Sure. So to try and minimize how intrusive it is to a seller from a time perspective as well.
And from a seller's perspective, and this is just me talking here, I would think it would behoove them to have that record of, you don't need to worry about an inspection because the roof is brand new, right? My furnace is brand new. I've got all new appliances, all that kind of stuff.
There is a tremendous amount of liability release that I would say is if a seller can have the home inspection performed in some capacity. Yeah. We talked about, last spring with all the inspections being waived, how the influx of arbitrations and lawsuits because sellers just weren't aware of issues. So it is a benefit to a seller to have a home inspection. The concern from a seller's perspective is the way it's generally written up is the buyer can unilaterally cancel within that period. Mm-hmm. So to my example,
a little scary.
Yeah, right. So to my example of expediting that time period, getting it done as soon as possible, helps relieve the fear that the buyer's going to cancel based on a home inspection.
Does it help the buyer to send a letter to the seller explaining why I would love to purchase your home because I want to raise my family just like you raised yours?
Yeah, we can do a whole segment on you referring to love letters.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think they have their place. I'm a proponent of it. I believe in them. The National Association of Realtors discourages them because of the concern we have fair housing laws.
Yeah.
So a seller cannot discriminate, choose an offer from a buyer based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, family status, or disability.
Yeah.
So the fear from the Association of Realtors is you're going to get a rogue seller that's one of those protected classes is going to be revealed in that love letter and make a decision as a result
Based
of
on that, sure.
I find them a benefit of trying to connect with the seller.
Yeah.
And first of all, I believe no one should have to apologize for who they are to begin with.
No.
But your occupation is not a protected class.
Right.
If we're going through the home and we know the seller, we see the seller's a nurse and my buyer's a nurse.
Yeah.
Try and make that connection.
Right.
So I've seen them work. I'm a big proponent of them, but you do have to be cautious of how they're utilized as well, too.
And I realize, the most important thing from a seller can be, my house is sold, yay, now I can go purchase my next one, right? But I'm emotionally attached to my house,
Yeah.
right? This is my kid's room over here. I remember her first date and all of that kind of
Yep.
stuff, right? And to me, I want to know that I'm passing that piece of real estate, and that's all it is a piece of real
Yep.
estate. But I want to know that I'm passing it off to somebody who's going to take care of it.
Yep.
You know?
And that's your right as a seller too. You just have to be aware that you cannot base that decision
Right.
based on a protected class.
And that can seem really silly to some people, that whole emotional attachment, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's very real. I
Yeah.
will tell you, especially you have people that have raised their families for 30, 40
Look in
years.
the backyard. There's the swing set for the kids. It's all ready to go. Why wouldn't you do that? That's what I would do. Whatever it would take to be able to make that person comfortable, I guess.
Correct.
And that goes on either side, the purchaser or the seller.
Yep. One other thing real quick is when a seller's looking at accepting an offer, they want to know that the buyer's going to be able to perform at the terms of the offer. So if you have a offer that's $20,000 over list price,
Yeah.
that's great, but is the appraisal going to meet that?
Sure.
And so that's a concern for a seller too. So a lot of what you've seen in the last year is what's called appraisal guarantees,
Yes.
meaning that the buyer will write in, if it's appraises up to X amount short, we will cover that in cash.
With cash.
That is a great tool for a buyer if they have the wherewithal to bring peace of mind for a seller.
Well, to me, that also says maybe you're not ready yet. So save up some more money so that you have that option so that you can purchase the home of your dreams.
And maybe if you have to do that for that particular home isn't the one.
Ah,
also,
there
as
is
well,
that too. That's where the realtor can help.
Yep. So there's a lot of things to do. Like I mentioned, we sit down. Every particular buyer is different.
Yep.
Every particular situation on a home is different. And so how do we map out a strategy given all those characteristics?
Brandon, how can we work with you at VoigtJohnson Real Estate?
320-774-2400 and VoigtJohnson.com.
Golly, this has been fun. Education, I love it.
Thanks
you.
for having us.
You bet. VoigtJohnson Real Estate, taking you home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate, Thursday mornings at 7:23, Saturdays at 7:50, AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI.